quiet when we turn off the devices.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for the delay. I had a screw in my tire this morning and had to wait for AAA to come change my tire for me, so I am here now. You may be seated. Ms. Silver, do you have something with us, or you're just here to observe?
I'm just observing on my cases call.
So it was brought to my attention that there was some camera footage of Mr. Jackson-Bolanos. We're not on the record. It was brought to my attention that there was some camera footage of Mr. Jackson-Bolanos being brought out from the back yesterday, and the photographers and videographers were instructed there not to film him as he's coming out from the back. He is only be filmed once he's by council table. And if there's any further violation of that rule, then there will be no more recording in the courtroom. So please do not film the defendant when he's being brought into the courtroom, only when he's by council table. As he's approaching council table, as he's next to his attorneys, you can start filming there, but not from the back. Okay? Understood. If it happens again, there will be no more filming. Are we ready to proceed? Was there anything that we had to do this morning? Or is it all in input? Okay. Bring the jury in. Is that ready to go, Mr. Elsie?
Yes, sir.
The jurors may be seated when we get to your spot. Okay, you may be seated. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning.
Calling case number 24-000535, People versus Michael Manuel Jackson-Bolanos on the docket today for jury trial in progress. Appearances, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. Ryan Elsie for the people.
Dominic DeGrazia on behalf of the people.
And good morning, Brian Brown on behalf of Mr. Jackson-Bolanos.
Good morning, Your Honor. Permission motion P18448, appearing as co-counsel on behalf of Mr. Jackson-Bolanos, who's present to my right.
And I do note for the record, Mr. Jackson-Bolanos is present, all counsel are present, and our 16 jurors have returned to us this morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and you may be seated. I do apologize for the delay in getting started this morning. I don't know if my staff told you, but I was backing out of my driveway this morning and discovered that my tire was low, and I actually had a nail in my tire, so I had to wait for roadside assistance to come change my tire for me so I could get here. So hopefully it didn't delay us too much. So, Mr. Elsie, are we ready for your first witness?
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, people call Kevin Mull.
All witnesses come back behind the bench. All witnesses come behind the bench and come to over here. You can take the witness. No. Come around. Yeah, they come around behind the bench to come sit at the witness stand. New deputy. I'm sorry, sir, could you stop and raise your right hand? Do
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
You can swing that microphone out before you sit down, please, there. And then once you're seated, hold it nice and close in front of you. Good morning, sir. Could you please state your name and spell it for the record?
Yes, Kevin Mull, KevinMull.
Ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Sir, could you please tell the jury about the neighborhood that you live in?
Yes, it's called Lafayette Park. It is a group of townhomes, about 20 buildings that are oriented in a configuration to create a neighborhood.
And that particular neighborhood, is that in the city of Detroit, the county of Wayne?
It is correct.
And how long have you lived in that neighborhood?
I have been there about 4 years.
And I want to take you back to the early morning hours of October 21st of 2023. Does that day have some significance to you?
It does, yes.
What were you doing when you woke up that morning?
My wife and I were dog sitting for a friend. So we had a dog in the house, and the dog woke me up to go outside. So I was in the process of taking the dog outside.
Okay, and did you take the dog outside?
I did, yes.
And approximately what time did you take the dog outside?
About 6:20 a.m.
And when you took the dog outside, did anything come to your attention at some point?
Yes, as I went out into the little park that the meadow that's between my building and the building across, where normally we would walk the dog, I noticed something on the sidewalk at the building directly across from my unit.
And can you describe what you saw on the sidewalk?
Yes, I saw an object there. It was still dark out and was rainy and misty, and I couldn't tell what it was. So as I made my way across the meadow, I eventually realized that it was a person that was lying on the sidewalk.
Okay. And can you describe that person's condition?
Yes, the person was laying on the sidewalk with their back towards me, and in what I would describe as a fetal position. And I noticed that right away that the person did not have any shoes on, which obviously was unusual for that location and the temperature and so forth.
Okay. Did you notice anything else about this person's condition?
Yes, obviously the person was not moving, so I called out, and as I got closer and heard no response, and it was very clear that that person was in distress based on, the lack of shoes and the position of the body and the state of the clothing.
Okay. Did you see the person moving at all?
No movement.
Did you see any evidence of injury that you observed?
There was not immediate evidence of injury, but because the person was unresponsive, obviously I was very concerned. So I saw a spot on the body where on the person's back there was some exposed skin. The skin was blue, the feet were blue. I touched that part of the body to try to get some kind of reaction, and I immediately could tell how cold the body was.
And was there any reaction when you touched the body?
No reaction.
At the time that you saw the body, were you aware of who this person was?
I was not. I based on the condition, I immediately returned to my home and put the dog in the house and called for my wife to call 911, in which she did. When we returned, it was my wife that recognized her. I did not know her.
And what is your wife's name, sir?
Jessica Robinson.
And can you explain to the jury where the body was positioned relative to the closest building?
Yes. So the way the buildings are configured, there are two units side by side with two doors next to each other to enter the units, and there's a sidewalk approaching the unit, and she was laying more than halfway up the sidewalk, approaching those two doors.
And the night that the night of October 21st, that night, did you stay at home that night in Lafayette Park?
I did, yes.
Did you hear anything that night?
I did not.
Did you see anything out of the ordinary that night?
I did not.
And your particular home, you said it was directly across from the building where you found the body?
Correct.
Did you have any camera on your home?
We have a ring, but it's not facing that direction. It's facing perpendicular, so it does not face that direction.
And when you touched the body, did you get any blood on you?
I did not.
Would you have had any reason to have your elbows or your back come into contact with the body?
I did not. I was at a distance and reached out, stretched out, and touched only the spot that the exposed skin had.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Cross-examination?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Now, you stated that it was a distance when you first observed an object, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And it wasn't until you got closer that you were able to ascertain that this was the actual body, correct?
correct.
Okay. And it was not apparent to you at first that there was blood around this object, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you indicated it was dark outside, correct?
It was still dark that morning, yes.
Okay. Now, what did you say when you approached this body?
I don't know the exact words, but something like, hello, excuse me, are you okay? Something along those lines.
Okay. And did you yell it? Did you say it in the same audible level as you're speaking right now?
Probably a little louder to, my impression was the person was sleeping. So it was, loud enough to that it would wake somebody up if they were sleeping.
Okay. And approximately how far were you away from the body when you made this statement?
10 feet.
10 feet? Okay. And when you didn't get a response, you approached closer?
I approached closer, yes.
Okay. And you indicated that you touched an exposed area of the skin, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that would be her back area, correct?
Correct.
And that was closest to you upon your approach, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And were you checking for a pulse or just a reaction?
I was checking for a reaction.
Okay. Now, to be fair to say that you did not check for a pulse, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't check her neck area for a pulse, correct?
I did not.
Okay. Would it be fair if you had checked her pulse from her neck, you would have to reach down over her, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you would have to get closer to her, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And it's a possibility if you had checked her neck, then possibly your elbow would have came in contact with possibly her hair or something.
Objection calls for speculation.
Okay.
You don't have to answer that, sir.
Now, you indicated that after touching her, you didn't get a response, correct?
Correct.
You then went home to your wife, correct?
Yes.
And your wife called 911.
Yes.
And while on the phone with 911, they instructed you to provide or attempt to provide CPR, correct?
That's correct.
And you refused to do so, correct?
Yes.
And you indicated her skin was cold to the touch, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, approximately how far is your apartment away from her apartment?
50 yards.
50 yards? Okay. On any given night, can you hear what's going on in her apartment from your apartment?
Not if doors are closed.
And was your door closed that night?
Yes.
And you indicated that have you ever seen her before in this complex?
In passing, but never a conversation or direct communication.
Okay. And when you saw her, was she always alone? Was she with an individual?
I don't recall.
You don't recall? You indicated that your wife knew her. Did she know her well, from your understanding?
Fairly well.
Fairly well? Now, you didn't submit your clothing to the police, correct?
No.
Okay, so you don't know definitively whether or not blood could have gotten from onto your clothes, correct?
I'm certain it did not.
Okay, but you didn't analyze it yourself, correct?
Correct.
Okay, nor did you send it to the police, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
Redirect.
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Any questions from the jurors? I don't see any hands from the jurors. Okay. Thank you, sir, for your time. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, write down on one of those sheets of paper in your binder. Deputy, if you could please get the note from the juror when it's ready. Counsel approach, please. Counsel, please approach so we can go over the notes. Right. Sir, what was your reason for not wanting to do CPR?
It was very clear to me that she was deceased.
Any other questions based on that?
No, Your Honor.
No questions.
Any other questions from the jury? I don't see any hands. Thank you, sir. You may step down, follow the deputy back around.
Thank you.
Your next witnesses.
Thank you, Your Honor. This time the people called Jessica Robinson.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you. You may be seated.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please state your name and spell for the record.
Jessica Robinson, JESSICA ROBINSON.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ma'am. The gentleman that we just heard from, Kevin Mull, who is that to you?
He's my husband.
And can you tell the jury what happened when you woke up on the morning of October 21st of 2023?
I can. So we were dog sitting for a friend, and our dog was downstairs, and she was getting whiny. It was early, and so we were deciding who was going to go let her out, and he said, "I'll go do it." So he got up, got dressed, took the dog outside, and it was a number of minutes. He came back in, and he said, "Hey, Jessica, there's a
Objection to hearsay.
I think it would qualify as an excited utterance or present sense of expression. Your Honor. I understand what the answers might be.
I'll allow it.
Your husband came inside and he said something to you.
He did. He came inside. I was upstairs. It's a 2-bedroom home. Came in the door. I could hear the door shut, and he said, "Jessica, there's a body outside." And I said,
What did you do in reaction to him saying that?
"Yes." I said something like, "Oh my God, what do you mean?" And he said, "There's a body outside." And I said, we need to call 911.
And did you ultimately call 911?
I did, yes.
And have you had an opportunity to review an audio recording of the call that you placed previously?
I have, yes.
And I'm pulling what's been marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 6. Is it your understanding that that recording is contained on this disc that's marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 6?
That's my understanding.
And to the extent that you reviewed that recording, does that recording appear to fairly and accurately depict the actual call that you placed to 911 on October 21st of 2023?
It does, yes.
Your Honor, I move to admit Proposed Exhibit 6.
No objection.
People 6 will be admitted and you may publish.
October 21, 2023, 06:24 and 52 seconds.
Is daytime 911, what's the address of your emergency?
It's 1368 Joliet Place.
What's your reason for a cross street?
Lafayette and Regard.
Is this an apartment, flat or home?
Townhouses.
Tell me exactly what happened.
My husband was just out walking our dog. And he told me there is a person, potentially a body, laying on the sidewalk. He attempted to nudge the person and they didn't move and there's blood present. And the person's just laying there.
Is it on your block?
It's in our property, yes, it's on my neighbor's sidewalk.
And that's your neighbor's, address?
Yes, I live across there's a little park here in the community, I live right here.
And where's the blood at?
Let me ask, Kevin, where is the blood? On the sidewalk. On the sidewalk around the body. We'll go look again as well.
Okay. I want you to be safe.
Okay, we will, of course, there's nobody else around, it doesn't seem, we have security here on the property, we'll call them next.
I'm going to stop at about 2 minutes and 5 seconds. And at this point in the call, had you left your home yet to observe the body firsthand?
I had not. I was still inside.
Okay. I'm going to resume the call at 2 minutes and 5 seconds.
Okay, I'm getting, I just have police requested, I just have to get EMS requested also to the location.
Okay. Yes, I understand. Kevin, can I give you another number to call? Can I give you another number to call?
Are you with the patient now?
No, we're still in our home across the street, we're putting the people back out.
How old does the patient look?
I'm sorry, I cannot, the way the person is laying, I cannot see their face unless I, move the body. And all curled up in a ball and the person's barefoot and there's a lot of blood on the sidewalk around. It looks like there's possibly a younger woman that may be pregnant, I'm not sure.
There's a female.
I think so, just by what I can see. And she's all curled up like in the fetal position in a ball, so it's hard to see.
Okay. Is she awake?
No, I prodded her to see if she would wake up and, no reaction.
Okay. Is she breathing?
It did not look like it. She looked somewhat blue.
She looked at blue.
Looked to be a little bit blue, skin cut, like bluish skin color. I'll go back over there in a moment and look closer, but.
That's their security, that's the guy in the truck right here. Can you try it again?
No matter what, this person needs attention. They're otherwise, but.
If there's a defibrillator available, since I want to get it now, and tell me when you have it.
Okay. You don't think that?
Yes, yeah, ma'am, I'm not sure if that was for us, we do not have a defibrillator here.
Okay, that's fine.
That's his name.
I'm sending paramedics to help you now. Stay on the line, I'll tell you exactly what to do next. Are you outside yet with that?
We're calling back outside. Kevin, can you speak that number? I have a question. 313-656-2172. Okay, now we're walking back across the block.
Okay.
Hi, good morning. A resident here.
Good morning, hello. Good morning.
Resident at Lafayette.
Oh, ma'am, she's not. Good morning, hello. And then she's not moving, there's, blood on her hand.
Okay,
Going to stop at 6 minutes and 2 seconds. At this point in the call, where are you?
So our home is across the park, as I described in the call. We walked across the park and we were approaching the person, the body.
Okay. And when you first approached the body, were you able to recognize who it was?
I could not. No, we came from. Her back was to us. The person's back was to us.
Okay. At some point later on that day, though, were you able to recognize who the body was?
I was. As Kevin and I were standing there, I walked around to the other side and I noticed two things about the person that suggested to me I knew who it was. The first was she was wearing a jacket that had a logo on the back. It was Maccabees Basketball, a Jewish organization. And then what really suggested to me I knew who it might be was a hair clip in the person's hair that I did notice.
And who did you recognize it to be based on those items that you observed?
Yeah, I thought that it was my neighbor, Sam Wall.
And how well did you know Miss Wall?
So I face her building, so certainly see her coming and going from her home. Sam had lived there maybe 3 years. I'd actually talked to her about joining the board of our organization. It's a co-op, so we work together to run the community. I'm the president, so I talked to her about that. So I would say I knew her well as a neighbor.
And which particular unit did she live in?
Would you like me to say the address?
Yes.
Yes, it was 1366 Joliet Place.
And where did you observe her body?
On the sidewalk approaching 1368 Joliet Place.
Okay. And what's the positioning between 1368 Joliet and 1366 Joliet?
Yeah. So the units all share one building. they're all townhouses, so they have front doors that face the sidewalk. 1368 is to the south of her unit, 1366. There's another unit, 1370 and 1368. They share a walkway. There's a landscape area. So to move from 1366 to 68, you would come out the sidewalk of 66, walk south along the shared sidewalk, and then walk back up this shared sidewalk between 1368 and 1370. So they were neighbor units, but they did not share a sidewalk.
Okay, and I have a couple of images that I want to walk through with you. How long have you lived in this neighborhood, first of all?
About 8 or 9 years.
And based on your experiences there, do you have some familiarity with the area and the surrounding area?
I do.
I'm holding what's been marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 3. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Handing you what's been marked as Proposed Exhibit 3. Is that just a drawing that gives sort of a general overview of the area surrounding your home and Miss Wool's home?
It is, it does.
And would you say that fairly and accurately depicts that area?
It is accurate, yes.
Your Honor, I move to admit Proposed Exhibit 3.
No objection.
People's 3 will be admitted, you may publish.
Thank you, Your Honor. So if we look at Exhibit 3, can you explain to the jury where Miss Wool's home would be depicted on this image?
Yeah, so it's marked as 1366, and that is correct. That's the building and where her unit would be.
Okay, and where would your building be located in this image?
So my building is the vertical rectangle behind the tag 1366. So it's over here,
Directly to the right of it?
directly to the right. Yes,
Okay,
it backs to Chrysler School.
And what is between the two buildings?
There's two things. The park, which I described, is the south half of what's between those units. It's a grassy area, one big tree, a little playground, and then the other half is a shared parking lot.
And do you see the box that is marked Chrysler School?
I see
on the
it.
Exhibit?
Mhm.
What does that represent?
That's an elementary school, and there's a shared path that goes from Lafayette behind our buildings up into Lafayette Park. But it's an elementary school.
And did I ask you to review a video that shows some of the surrounding area that we see here on Exhibit 3?
Yes, you did.
And does that video fairly and accurately depict what that area looks like in general?
It does.
And does that show us the area sort of starting by near the school, going all the way into the walkway right in front of Miss Wool's building?
It does, yes.
And to the extent that you reviewed that video, would you say that fairly and accurately depicts what that area looks like now?
It is. It's what it looks like.
And I'm holding what's been marked as Proposed Exhibit 2. Is it your understanding that video is on this disc that's marked as Proposed Exhibit 2?
That's my understanding.
Your Honor, I move to admit Proposed Exhibit 2.
No objection.
People's 2 will be admitted,
Thank you. May I publish, Your Honor?
you may.
And just looking at the image right now at the very beginning of the video for Exhibit 2, where would this be reflected on this particular map? What sort of area would we be looking at on this particular map? On exhibit 3.
So it's approximately where your mouse is. What you're seeing in the start of that video is the end of Joliet Street
And so
facing toward Brevard.
would that be this area right here?
That's the cars that you see. Yes, the video is kind of taken back from the sidewalk, but that's what you see in the start, yes.
Okay. I'm going to continue publishing exhibit 2. At 48 seconds of the video and go back to exhibit 3 just to kind of reorient ourselves. At that point in the video, on exhibit 2, where would that be reflected in exhibit 3?
Your Honor, I think he's kind of leading the witness with his mouse. He's hovering over the area where it's obviously he wants her to indicate that this particular video is being depicted. He did that
Do you
earlier.
have a pointer or something where she could point it out?
I don't have a pointer, Your Honor.
May I stand?
Yes, you may.
Yeah, if perhaps you could stand.
You may not be tall enough over there, but you can step down and go
Okay,
see if
thank
you can point to it. The screen does go kind of high up. Step down, so.
So in the video, what you see, you're right here. There's street parking right here, and that's the cars that you see here. It's right here.
Okay. And is there an additional parking area in addition to the street parking?
So there's street parking along Joliet. There's street parking here. There's street parking here. This is private parking for our community. There's actually a gate arm.
Okay. And I'm going to resume the video, exhibit 2 at 48 seconds. Stop at 1:20 seconds. And again, just to orient ourselves looking back at exhibit 3, can you sort of explain sort of the general route that we were just looking at that was being traversed in the video?
So again, the video started here. We walked this way, and we're now walking down this sidewalk right here, and the cars that you've started to see are right there.
Okay. And resuming the video at 1:20 seconds. And so stopping the video at 1:49 seconds, what are we looking at here at this particular moment?
Right, so now you're seeing the shared sidewalk with unit 1366 Sam's unit facing into the building.
Okay. And resuming in 1:49 seconds on exhibit 2. And stopping at 1:59 seconds on exhibit 2. Now, at this point in time on the video, are you able to see the area where her body, where you observed her body?
I would say it's very close. The area of the body was here on this sidewalk.
Okay.
Perhaps a little bit closer down here, but generally in this area, yes.
And resuming the video at 1 minute and 59 seconds. And stopping the video at 2 minutes and 37 seconds. And now, in this time frame, are you able to see more clearly where you observed her body?
I would say yes. I assume the body was right here at where the intersection of the sidewalk and the main sidewalk and the sidewalk to the units is. So right here.
Okay, thank you. If you can have a seat again, I think we'll move on from here. I'm also holding what's been marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 1. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
And ma'am, handing you Proposed Exhibit 1. What is Proposed Exhibit 1?
It's a series of aerial maps, photographs of my neighborhood.
And do those maps appear to fairly and accurately reflect your neighborhood and the surrounding area?
Yes, they do.
And how many images are there in that exhibit?
There are 4.
And are those all just at different sort of points of zooming in or zooming out?
So they start with a very high overview and then zoom in closer to the property, yes.
Your Honor, I would move to admit Proposed Exhibit 1.
No objection.
People's one will be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I publish?
You may.
Okay, and starting with page 1 of Exhibit 1, just to orient us, and you might need to get back up for this, I'm sorry. Could you point to where your community is reflected in that image?
Sure. The first one is easy. It's the the green area with all the trees. I can point if.
Yeah, if perhaps you
Sure.
could point to it directly. Thank you.
So our neighborhood is this area here.
Okay, and where is downtown relative to that neighborhood?
Here, this is Campus Martius. The sports stadiums are easy to identify, so downtown is here.
Okay, and how about Midtown? Are you able to see any portion of Midtown on that? map?
Yes, of course. So this is Woodward here, and this is Little Caesars up here, and so Midtown starts when you cross the freeway. So up into this direction, Brush Park, and then Midtown up here.
Okay, and moving to the second page of Exhibit 1, again, just to orient ourselves, can you point to where, are you able to see your specific building in this image or the area of your specific building?
Yes. So the Chrysler Elementary School is here, and then my building is this one here, and then you see the tree canopy, and then this is the building across the way.
Okay, and moving to the third page of Exhibit 1, can you, I guess, point to, do you see Samantha Wool's building in this image?
I do. So it's here. You can actually see the rooftop through the trees. Again, my home is here. Chrysler Elementary is up there.
Okay, and then moving to the final page, just, does that just bring us a little bit closer in?
It's closer. That's the building. Yes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. You can have a seat, thanks. Now, after you observed the body, did you make any efforts to try to figure out whether anyone else was home in the units adjoining to Miss Wall?
I did. I attempted to contact multiple neighbors in that building.
Okay, and based on the efforts that you made, were you able to determine whether anybody was home in the units directly next to hers?
They were not home.
Okay. And throughout the night on October 21st of 2023, did you hear or see anything? I'm sorry, throughout the night of October 20th of 2023, leading into the early morning hours of October 21st of 2023, did you see or hear anything out of the ordinary that caught your attention at all?
The night before. No, I did not.
And after you called 911, did you happen to see whether your husband at all had any sort of blood on him, on his clothing that day?
He did not have any blood on him.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. No further questions.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
Now, you were inside the house when you were first notified by your husband of a potential body on the sidewalk?
I was in the house. Yes.
Okay. Your husband never instructed you to call 911, correct?
No, I said we need to call 911.
Okay, so it was your choice to call 911, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And when you called 911, you did not immediately go outside to observe the scene, correct?
I had just woken up. I was not dressed to go outside. So as fast as I could, I got dressed and went outside.
And you were on the phone with 911 and they were asking you questions and giving you directions. One of the directions was to provide CPR, correct?
That's correct.
And you refused to give CPR, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And one of the reasons why you refused to give CPR because you felt that the person was too far gone, was already dead, correct?
That's correct.
And you didn't check for any pulse or anything, correct?
I did not.
Okay. And the reason why you didn't check for a pulse is you felt that the person was already dead, correct?
The reason I did not check for the pulse is I had been out to the person at that point, and it was clear it was a dead body.
Okay, so that'd be a yes, correct? Okay.
Yes.
And it was your understanding that your husband had touched the body, correct?
He told me he had, yes.
Did you know at that point in time where he had touched the body?
I believe he said he had touched her on her back.
You believe, or are you sure, or are you just speculating right now?
I recall he told me he touched her on her back.
Okay. Did you ask him if he had checked for a pulse?
I did not.
Now, when you walked around the body, did you like lean over the body to see her face, or how were you able to ascertain that it was who you thought it was?
So I walked around the body. Again, when I got to her, her back was to us. I walked around the side of her head. So, excuse me. So my back was to the unit facing now her face.
Okay.
And I could see her face, but not entirely well. So it was not her face that I recognized first. It was the other items I described.
Okay, and you said you recognized a hair clip.
A hair clip.
And did you recognize that from approaching from the rear, or did you have to walk around before you noticed that?
I don't recall when I noticed it.
Okay. Would the hair clip would it have been in the back of her hair?
Yeah, it was on the back of
Okay.
her hair.
And it'd be fair that you approached her from the back, correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
And when you walked around the front of her, you were looking at the front of her, correct?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And the lettering on the jacket, would that been on the rear of her jacket or the front of her jacket?
It was on the back, on the back side of her jacket.
Okay. So it'd be fair that you noticed this lettering on the back of her jacket when you approached from the rear, correct?
I would say what I noticed when I approached from the rear was the body. And as I walked around to the front, she was curled up. You could still see her back wall facing from the front of her.
You would agree that there is a line of bushes that connects the joint sidewalk of apartment 1364 and 1366 to the joint sidewalk of 1368 and 1370.
There's a row of shrubbery there, yes.
Okay. And when the prosecution asked whether or not you were able to see where the body was from the vantage point of 1366, that joint sidewalk, you would agree that the shrubbery would have clouded your image or obstructed your image from seeing where the body was, correct?
No, I said from that particular picture, I would say you could see the body. Not all of it, but you could see it from that sidewalk.
Okay. And you did indicate that the body would have been somewhat, I guess, shielded, for lack of a better word, by the shrubbery from that particular image that was showed to you, correct?
Where I saw the body was from a different direction.
Okay, but my question is when the prosecution showed you that video and paused it at the joint sidewalk of 1366 and 1364 and indicated where the body was from that vantage point, you would agree that the shrubbery would have had obstructed your vision from that particular vantage point of where the body
I
was.
would not agree with obstructed. I would have said it would be part of the field of view, but you would have been able to see the body.
You said it would have parted,
It would have been part of the field of view. You would see the shrubbery and the body. What's important about this picture is this is a summer picture.
Okay, thank you. And you had Ring camera on your particular house?
We do.
Okay, and your buildings face each other?
They do.
Okay. Does your Ring camera face her unit?
It does not.
It does not? Okay. And you indicated that you're the president of
The president of the co-op, the Home as a Co-op
the co-op?
Association.
Okay. And as the president of the co-op, are you, one of your, I guess, duties is to provide maybe surveillance cameras for the different units?
It's not one of our duties, no.
Okay. Can you request surveillance cameras?
No.
Okay. Have you ever requested surveillance cameras as the president of the co-op?
For my home or for the community?
For the community, for each individual building to have its own surveillance camera?
Not prior to this event, no.
Not prior? Okay. Do you know whether or not these buildings were equipped with any type of surveillance?
I do know that, yes.
Were they?
Some were.
Okay. Do you know whether or not Ms. Wall's building had surveillance?
I do not know.
You do not? Okay. Did you ever inquire as the president of the co-op?
No, we're each our own homeowners.
Okay. Do sometimes different co-ops, is it one co-op per building or is it one co-op for the whole complex?
Our co-op is 5 buildings. There are 4 co-ops in that neighborhood.
Okay. Does her building exist inside your co-op?
It does, yes.
Okay. And you stated that you knew Samantha fairly well?
I would say as a neighbor, I knew her, yes.
Okay. Had you ever seen her with anybody else going or coming from her apartment?
I see all of our neighbors coming and going.
My question is, did you specifically see Samantha coming and going from her apartment with anybody else?
In what time period?
Months preceding, maybe within the 6 months that preceded this particular incident.
I'm sorry, I don't recall.
You don't recall? Okay. Have you ever seen her with like maybe a male coming and going to her apartment?
I don't recall a male or a female, but I have seen Samantha walking in the neighborhood with people. Yes.
Okay. And you knew her approximately 3 years?
I would say that's about right. Yes.
Okay. Did you ever have casual conversations with her?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know if she was dating somebody?
I don't know that.
Okay. That conversation never came up?
It did not.
has he ever introduced you to anybody?
No.
Thank you. No further questions.
Regret?
Nothing, Your Honor, thank you.
Questions from the jury? Write down, please. Counsel approach. Could you see if Samantha's door was open that morning?
I could see that, yes.
If the door was open?
I could see it and it was open.
Any further questions based on that?
Yes. Oh. And just to be clear, you were able to see that her door was open when you approached the body and you walked to her door?
No, that's not correct. So we approached the body. As I described, it became clear that it was Samantha, which didn't make sense because that was not her home she was laying in front of. We noticed drops of blood on the shared sidewalk leading back to her unit.
Okay, I didn't mean to cut you off, but just to be clear, where were you at when you noticed her door was open?
I'm describing that for you. We followed the trail of drops of blood back the sidewalk and toward her unit. And it was when we were standing in front of her unit, we noticed the door was open.
Thank you. And to be clear, you did not notice when you walked out of your own unit that her door was open, correct?
That was not my focus at that time, no.
Okay, thank you.
Any follow?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Any further questions from the jury? Thank you, ma'am. You may step down.
Thank you.
Come back around. with more questions. Oh, we need those exhibits. You next witness?
The people call Preston Q.
you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Good morning, sir. Please state your name and spell it for the record.
My name is Preston Koo, Preston, last name Koo, Kue.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, what do you currently do for a living?
I am a police officer currently at Clinton Township,
And how long have you been with Clinton Township?
3 months.
And did you work as a police officer somewhere else before you joined Clinton Township?
Yes, sir. I used to work for the city of Detroit for 8 months.
And during the time you were with the city of Detroit, what were your responsibilities?
I was a patrol officer at the 11th precinct.
Okay. And as part of your duties as a patrol officer with the 11th precinct, did you find yourself dispatched to the area of 1368 Joliet Place early in the morning on October 21st of 2023?
Yes.
Now, is that area in the 11th precinct?
No.
And what was it that prompted you as an 11th precinct officer to be dispatched to an area outside of your precinct?
We were just told by dispatch to go to District 7.
Okay, so you're responding to an area in the 7th precinct, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, that particular morning, were you alone or were you with a partner?
I was with a partner,
And what was your partner's name?
Dowd, Eric Dowd.
Okay, and when the two of you were dispatched to that location, were the two of you equipped with body-worn cameras?
Yes, sir.
And as far as you know, were your body-worn cameras functioning?
Yes, sir. They were.
And could you just explain just briefly for the jury what a body-worn camera is?
A body-worn camera is issued to every officer, and it's worn either on the front or anywhere that's placed. It's recorded at all times whenever we're dispatched to a run.
And when you made this particular run, were you and your partner in a vehicle?
Yes, sir.
And was that vehicle equipped with any sort of camera system?
Yes, sir, it is.
And what sort of camera system was that vehicle equipped with?
It's equipped with a dash cam and a back camera for the prisoner.
And to your knowledge, was that camera system functioning during the police run that you made on October 21st, 2023?
Yes.
And what was the reason that you were dispatched to 1368 Joliet Place at that date?
We were dispatched there for a dead person observed run.
Okay, and do you recall what time you arrived at that location?
I do recall it was around 6:38 a.m.
Okay, and when you got to that location, can you describe what you saw?
We first arrived on scene with Medic 8. We walked towards the home of 1368. We first saw I first observed the blood trail coming from 1366, coming all the way towards the body in fetal position. And
When you say Medic 8, what are you referring to?
Fire EMS Detroit.
Okay, so were they on scene before you got there or after you got there?
Before we were there.
Okay. And once you made those, I guess, basic initial observations, what was
Area.
Okay, what did you do to preserve the crime scene?
We blocked off the area with tape, and to do the protective sweep, we went inside the home to make sure there was nobody inside.
Okay, and when that protective sweep was done, was anybody else located inside of the home?
No,
And when we're saying the home, which home are you referring to?
it was 1366, the one that she resides in.
Okay. Before your testimony today, did I ask you to review a clip of your body-worn camera?
Yes, you did.
And that clip that you reviewed, does that clip just encompass the first couple of minutes of your time on scene?
Yes, sir.
And does that clip fairly and accurately reflect some of those initial observations you would have seen when you initially arrived on scene?
Yes, it does.
And I'm holding what's been marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 7. It's a disc. Is it your understanding that that clip, that the recording of that clip is located on this particular disc?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move to admit Proposed Exhibit 7.
No objection.
7 will be admitted and made public.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, may we approach just briefly?
Yes. So this exhibit is going to contain some rather graphic footage and photos. This one and the next several exhibits showing the body of Ms. Wall. So if you feel you're not able to handle looking at those images, I suggest maybe you step out of the courtroom before we show those images. If you feel you just can't handle it, just to avoid any outbursts or any discomfort in the room, okay? Obviously, the jurors can't step up.
Thank you, Your Honor. With that, I'm going to publish Exhibit 7. So just stopping the video at 1 minute and 51 seconds. What unit or what address are we looking at this point?
1366.
Okay. And was there anything significant about the door that you observed?
Nothing about the door, no.
Continuing at 1 minute and 51 seconds. Just stopping here.
Sir, can you turn and watch the video?
At 1 minute
Sorry.
and 51 seconds, 1 minute and 55 seconds. So the gentleman standing next to the door, who's that?
That's my partner.
Okay, that'd be Officer Dowd.
Yes.
Were the two of you able to peek inside of the unit at that point?
Yes, at that point.
And how was it that you were able to peek inside of the unit?
Through the window.
The window being positioned where?
On the door.
Okay, and so was there a door that was open behind the screen door?
At the time, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I ran the address.
Mhm.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I thought there might have been in conjunction with something else. You guys are.
We're looking for it. Yep.
Okay, and just stopping the video there at the end of it. You mentioned that your vehicle that you had that morning was also equipped with a dash camera system.
Yes, sir.
And have I asked you to review some footage from that system?
Yes, sir.
And the footage that you reviewed, does that appear to fairly and accurately reflect your dash camera footage from that morning?
Yes.
And that shows the positioning of where your vehicle was that morning?
Yes, sir.
I'm holding what's been marked as people's proposed exhibit 8. Is it your understanding that that footage is on this particular exhibit?
Yes, sir.
I'd move to admit proposed exhibit 8, Your Honor.
No objection.
People's aid will be admitted, you may publish.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I'm not going to publish at that time.
Okay.
Or at this time. No further questions. Thank you.
Cross-examination?
Good morning, officer.
Good morning, sir.
Now, you arrived approximately around 6:50 to this address, correct?
No, around 6:38, approximately around that time.
Were you able to watch your body cam that we just viewed?
Yes.
Okay, and you would agree that the time on your body cam indicates 6:51 or 6:50, correct?
Well, it was around the time, but yes.
Okay, and that's when you first arrived, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you would agree that you arrived on the scene around 6:50, correct?
No.
Are you stating that your body cam your body cam timer or time is off?
I wouldn't say that, sir.
So
It's just the time of activation, and when we call out, we're
okay.
there.
But you would agree when this particular video started, you were driving, correct?
Yes, sir.
You were driving to the location, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then you got out of the car, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then you walked up.
Yes.
And you would agree when this video started, it was approximately 6:50, correct? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you would agree at that point in time when the video first started, you haven't even arrived at the scene as of that time, correct?
We arrived in the vicinity, sir.
Okay. So
Yes.
you would agree that you arrived at the scene around 6:50, yes?
No, sir.
You would not? Okay. So I'm just to be clear.
Yeah,
Okay?
I understand.
Just to be clear.
Mm-hmm.
This video starts at 6:50, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
You can't say or
Yes. Yes.
This video shows you driving to the scene, correct?
Yes, sir.
As far as you know, the time on this video is accurate, correct?
Yes, sir.
You would agree that this video shows you arriving at the scene at 6:50, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you would agree that you arrived at the scene at 6:50, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, when asked, did you see anything significant about the door, you indicated no at first, correct?
Yeah, I did say no.
Okay.
Yes.
And you would agree that in your report, you never indicated that this particular door was open or anything. You would agree to that, correct?
Yes.
And as far as you know, you don't know how the door became open, right? If one of your partners opened it or not, do you?
Yeah, I don't.
Did you have an opportunity to speak with anybody on the scene?
No, I did not actually.
You did not? Okay. But your partner did. You saw your partner speaking to some witnesses,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And you weren't present when that happened?
I was present, sir, but I didn't talk to any of
Okay.
the witnesses.
As you were walking down the pathway leading up to 1368, were you able to see the body as you were walking up?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know approximately how far away were you when you first were able to notice the body?
Not approximately, no.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that there was some shrubbery or some bushes that were around this particular body?
Yes.
Okay. And did those bushes or shrubbery have some impact on your ability to see or not see the body from walking up the sidewalk?
Yeah.
Okay. So it'd be fair that the bushes somewhat obstructed your view upon your approach to the body, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. No further questions. Oh, I'm sorry. I do. You indicated that you did a protective sweep of the house, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that means that you went in to see if anybody was inside the house, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when you did that, did you put any type of protective gear on your feet prior to walking into the house?
No, sir.
Okay. So you walked in with your boots, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you would agree that there was blood in the hallway, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you had to step either through the blood or over the blood or in the blood, correct?
Over the blood, yes.
Okay. Do you know if any blood got on the bottom of your shoe?
No, sir. Not that I recall.
Okay. You didn't check though, did you? You didn't check the bottom of your foot when you left, did you?
I only just tiptoed around the blood
Okay.
that was on the scene. That's
Okay.
it.
My question is, you did not check the bottom of your boots when
No.
you left for blood, correct?
No, I did not check.
And there was no analysis on your boots done by any detectives or forensic analysis after you left, correct?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Just briefly, Your Honor. When you went inside of the house, 1366 Joliet Place, to do the protective sweep, did you exercise any caution to try to not make contact with the blood, or were you just kind of stepping around freely?
Yes, I was making caution when I was stepping inside the house.
Okay. And to your knowledge, did you step in any blood?
Not that I recall.
Now, after this particular police run, did you draft a police report?
Yes, sir.
And when you draft a police report for a police run, do you typically document the time that you were dispatched?
Yes, sir.
And what is the time that you're dispatched as opposed to the time that you arrive on scene?
I was dispatched at 6:38. Yes.
Okay, and so is that where the 6:38 comes in?
Yes, sir.
So what does that mean to be dispatched at 6:38?
It just means the time that dispatch sends us to run.
Okay, so you're not actually at scene on 6:38, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, was that just, can you explain, I guess, why you thought you may have been on the scene at 6:38?
I was just looking at the radio logs. That's probably honestly it. That's it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you, nothing further.
Anything further, Mr. President?
So you stated that you were looking at the radio log and that's where you were dispatched, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so just why do you have such a hard time agreeing with the evidence before you that you arrived at the scene at 6:50?
I just didn't recall the time, sir. That's it.
Okay, but your body cam depicts the time, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you try to refute your body cam time, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Any further?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Any questions from the jury? Right down, counsel approach. Deputy, no, please. Since you're on the far end, you might want to go through the well. Deputy, he's over there. Was the inner door at Samantha Wool's residence, the 1366 residence, open upon your first view and the outer storm door was closed?
Yes, ma'am.
So the heavy inner door was open
Yes.
and the storm door was closed?
Yes. The storm door was closed, but the heavy door is open. Yes.
Any further questions based on that?
No, Your Honor.
And do you remember when you first made that observation?
Yes, sir, I do.
When?
Right when I arrived on scene.
Okay, but you didn't document that in your police report, correct?
No, sir, I did
Okay.
not.
And the purpose of your police report is to be as descriptive as possible, correct?
Yes, sir.
So that later if you need to testify, you can rely on your police report to have certain facts that may not be in your memory bank at that time, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you failed to put that in your report, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you also indicated earlier that you don't know how the door got open, if one of your partners opened the door or anybody else, correct?
I didn't write it down, yes.
No, my separate question. My question is, you indicated earlier, just to be clear, that you don't know how the door became open, if one of your partners opened the door. You don't know that, correct?
Yeah.
That's correct, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. No further questions. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Hold on, I think they might have more questions.
And just to be clear, when the prosecutor played the video and he stopped and he asked you, do you know anything significant, notice anything significant about the door? You indicated no, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that was upon your approach to the residence, correct?
Yes.
So it'd be fair that even watching the video, you did not observe that this particular door was open upon your approach, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So when you say that you noticed the door was open, that's not entirely correct. That's true, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Just briefly, officer, so when you and your partner arrived on scene, were there any other officers on scene?
Do you mean prior or?
Yeah.
While on scene?
Let me ask it this way. Who were the first officers that arrived on scene?
The first officers were only me and my partner. That's it.
And when you got out of your squad car, did you get out separately at different times, or did you get out at the same time?
I'd say probably around the same time.
And did you walk to the residence separately, or did you walk to the residence together?
Together.
Okay, and did you see your partner open the door before the time depicted in the video that was just played?
No, he only went up to the door. That's it.
Okay, and just to be clear, and I want to go back to the video that's been admitted as Exhibit 7. If we go to 1 minute and 48 seconds into the video, what are we looking at this point in the video?
And you're not object. I believe we're asking based upon his knowledge. We're not asking him to look at the video and then make some determination on what he sees or deduces from this video. We're going based upon his
Objection
vision.
overruled. They can ask him to clarify something he's seeing on the video,
But
what he observed himself.
right, but I believe he's going to ask him, okay, this is the point in time you're approaching the video.
Let him ask before.
Okay, 1 minute and 48 seconds into the video is shown on the screen right now. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And can you take a look at that for us? Up until this point, have you or your partner approached that door?
No, not at this point because we saw the trail of blood first. That's why we were
Okay.
standing right there.
And at this point in time, were you able to look through that front door?
Yes.
Into where?
Into our home
What and why?
because the door is open.
What further questions?
Any other questions from the jury? Thank you, sir. You may sit down, come back around. We have a bench. Next witness?
People call Officer Derek Dowd.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
That's right.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Have a seat. Hold the mic and party, please. And state your name and spell it for the record.
I am Officer Derek Dowd, spelled Derrik, last name Doud.
Was that 2 hours?
Yeah,
Or 1?
2 hours.
Okay, thank you. You've ever seen-
Good morning, sir. Where do you work?
Detroit Police Department.
And how long have you been a police officer for?
2 years at this point.
And were you working as a police officer back on October 21st of 2023 at around 6:30 in the morning?
Yes, sir.
And who were you working with at the time?
Officer Preston Q.
And were you dressed in like a standard police uniform, or were you like in an undercover uniform? How are you dressed?
Standard police uniform, marked.
And when you say marked, are you talking about like the police car that you were in, or
Police
the
ca-
clothes?
The police car is marked as well, but I was referring to badge, full uniform.
All right. And were you equipped with a body camera at that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, were you dispatched at around 6:30 in the morning to 1368 Joylette Place?
Yes, sir.
And why were you dispatched there?
For a dead person observed.
Okay. And do you remember specifically what time you were dispatched?
After referring to the radio log on our system, it said about 6:38 a.m.
And did you also complete a police report?
Yes, sir.
And did you recall whether you noted in your police report what time you were dispatched?
Yes, sir.
And what time was that?
That is 6:38.
Okay. And so that information that you received, did you receive it over the radio or on a phone? How did you get the information?
On our system, our computer aided dispatch, we call it CAD, on the events, there's a tab that you can look at what time runs were dispatched, times that are received, everything like that. And what I referred to in the report was the label of the dispatch time. So when I said unit dispatched, that's what I referred to.
And so from wherever you were when you first received the information about that potential scene, do you recall how long it took you to get from where you were when you first received the information to the location itself?
Referring back to the radio log, we arrived about 6:48 a.m. So about 10 minutes.
All right.
Approximately.
And did you have to take a car to get there?
Yes, sir. We were in the marked scout car.
So while you were in your car, did you do anything to find out more information about any potential occupants that were living in that area?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So can you just describe what you did?
So prior to our arrival on scene, I checked through our lean system the address that was provided through our dispatch of 1366 Juliet Place and checked who was the occupants of that location. The only occupant of that location was Samantha Wool.
All right. So if I can just break this down a little bit, you mentioned something called the lean system.
Yeah.
What is the law enforcement information network? Just briefly, if you can summarize that.
It's a system that we use that we can run names, addresses to find out information, see who's registered to an address, run firearms, vehicles, all sorts of things. It's a network that's used by law enforcement to check on information as such.
And are you able to access that from your police car?
Yes, sir.
And so you managed to look up the potential homeowners at 1366 Joliet?
Yes, sir.
All right. And along with the name, were there any photographs that you're able to access of that individual?
Yes, sir.
All right.
There's a lean photo that's provided when you run somebody's name, and I observed that lean photo just in case it was that person prior to arriving on scene.
And so did you arrive at that location?
Yes, sir.
And so just describe what occurred when you got out of your car and you arrived there.
So upon arrival, we were met with medics, spoke with the medics. They walked us over to where the victim was located. At that time, they showed us where the trail leading out of her residence was, and that she was next door.
So if I can actually stop you here for a second. Now you referred to medics. Are you referring to like EMS workers or medical professionals?
Yes, sir. EMS. Yeah.
So they were already there by the time you got there?
Yes, sir. They were already on scene.
Were there any other police officers besides you and your partner?
Negative.
And
No
I'm
other.
sorry, what was your partner's name?
Preston Q.
Okay. So the EMS workers directed you to go to a location. And so describe what you saw as you were approaching the location that they directed you to.
As we approached
where the body was located, we observed a trail of blood exiting the residence of 1366 Juliet Place. Followed the sidewalk out from the residence, south on the sidewalk, and in front of it. If you're walking south, you make a right to the walkway that leads to the residence of 1368 Juliet Place.
Now, when you're approaching 1368 Juliet, did you make any observations about whether or not there were any individuals who appeared to be suffering from some form of trauma?
Yes, sir. While approaching 1368 Juliet Place, I observed the victim in a fetal position on the sidewalk in front of the residence.
Now, did she appear to be moving at all when you first saw this person?
No.
Did that person appear to be breathing at all?
No.
Did you notice any apparent injuries or trauma to that person's body when you first approached them?
So there was a large amount of blood. And when I say large, I mean there was a large amount of blood. She was covered in blood, but the position she was in, she was covering her she was in a fetal position with her arms up to her chest. So it's hard to observe neckline, arms, anything. She was wearing a hoodie as well. So we were unable to observe like any of her body other than her hands, her face, obviously. So to answer your question, I'm sorry, we were unable to observe any marks, any injuries.
Other than the suspected blood
Other than the large amount of blood.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that she was wearing a hoodie. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it was a blue Tel Aviv hoodie.
Yeah. Any other noticeable things about any articles of clothing she was wearing other than this hoodie that you?
She was not wearing shoes.
Okay.
She wasn't wearing shoes. Yep.
Just completely barefoot.
Closer to you just to make sure everyone can hear you.
She wasn't wearing shoes. Yeah.
So, do you recall whether she had socks on or was she completely barefoot?
I believe she did not have socks on. She was completely barefoot.
All right. So when you saw, and let me ask you this. When you approached this individual on the ground, were you able to look at the person's face?
Yes, sir.
And when you looked at her face, did you make any observations about her?
Yes, sir. When I observed the victim's face, and after observing the lean photo of Samantha Wool on the lean network, the images matched. So I believed at that time it was our victim, Samantha Wool.
All right. Had you ever met her before that day?
No, sir.
Okay. So your identification is purely based on looking at a picture and then looking at the person on the ground?
Yes, sir.
All right. So after you saw this body on the ground, did you ever walk back to 1366 Joliet?
Yes, sir.
And just describe why you decided to walk back to 1366.
So at that time, I advised my partner, Preston Q, to stay with the body. I walked over to the location 1366 Juliet Place. The screen door was closed. The main door, the wooden door, it was open, about 45-degree angle.
So actually, let me stop you here for
Yeah.
a second. So this particular townhome, it's got a screen door. Is that like a solid screen door, or can you see through the screen
You
door?
can see through it.
All right. And is there a heavier entry door, I guess, behind the screen door?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right. And just describe how the heavier interior door was
In relation.
open.
Yes. So if my left hand were to represent that screen door and the heavier main door was my right hand, it would be about 45 degrees open this way, being the hinge this way. So if the screen door opens this way, the main door opens this way.
All right. So before you ever go in and you're just standing outside 1366, are you able to see into the interior of that townhome?
Yes, sir.
When you were standing outside, did you notice whether any interior lights were on inside 1366?
Yes, sir. I observed what looked like one light in the living room of the location, I could only, at least from that point, I could only observe the light, shining from the corner of the room.
And at least when you were out there around 3:48 in the morning, was it still dark outside, or can you describe the lighting conditions?
You said around 3:48 in the morning,
Yes. You
as in,
recall?
as in the afternoon.
No, I'm sorry. 6:48 in the
Yeah.
morning. When you arrived there,
Yeah.
can you just describe what the lighting was like when you first got there?
It was nighttime.
Okay. So, from your position on the outside of 1366, you were able to see that there was a light on inside.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, when you were standing outside, what did you decide to do at that point?
At that point, I placed on latex gloves, opened the screen door, entered the residence. At that time, I observed a large amount of blood collection at the top of the let's say the basement stairs, the landing, and the main hallway. I tiptoed around, made sure I didn't step on any of the blood. Went around the blood. At that point, I was in the living room.
Okay, so let me
Yeah.
actually cut you off here for a second. You mentioned that before you went in, you put gloves on.
Yes, sir.
What was the purpose of you putting gloves on?
Preservation of evidence, so I didn't contaminate the scene.
All right. And you also mentioned that when you went inside, you were describing that you tiptoed around.
Yes, sir.
So were you trying to be careful when you were walking around on the inside?
Yes, sir. Very careful.
What was the purpose for doing that?
Because at this point, obviously, I was thinking we had a homicide scene, so I didn't want to contaminate the evidence at all. So I used my best ability to make sure I didn't step in any blood.
Now, at this point, I believe you said you'd been a police officer for 2 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it your job when you were working that night to investigate homicide crimes like as a detective?
No, sir.
Okay. Are there other police officers whose job that is?
Yes, sir.
In terms of collecting evidence, swabbing items for DNA, is that another one of your job responsibilities?
Negative, sir. That's
Okay.
not.
So, if I understand what you're saying, you're making an effort not to touch or do anything when you're
Yes,
inside.
that's leading.
That's leading.
All right. So, as you proceeded into the entryway of the home, just describe what you saw.
As I proceeded in the entryway, I observed a large amount of blood. To the left of me, there was in the small hallway that leads to the kitchen area. There was a kitchen table. I observed there was a bowl of fruit that was turned on its side with the fruit knocked out, which I thought was a little irregular. That was weird. So I tiptoed over the blood to make sure that I didn't step in any of the blood. I then was standing into the living room of the location. At that time, I observed the couch in the living room. I observed there was a tray of beets that looked like rice, that was knocked on the floor, a laptop on the right armrest that had blood on top, a half-eaten banana on the left armrest. I was checking the rear door to see if it, was an entryway or an exit way, and I observed that it was locked.
Okay, so let me stop you here for a second.
Yeah.
So what was your general purpose in going into 1366?
Well, the general purpose of me entering the residence at that time was, one, to gain more information when I made the call to homicide or notification control to let the detectives know what we have, what the scene was, and then two, to check the residence if somebody was inside the residence and whether there was other points of entry or exit.
Okay, so when you went in and now you're proceeding into the living room and you're checking the door, did you see any other people inside that residence?
No, sir.
Okay. And you said you checked, there's a rear exit once you go into the townhouse?
Yes, sir. There's a rear sliding door located at the rear of the living room, and I checked whether to see that was locked, and it was locked in this case.
Okay. Now, aside from making your observations about the nature of the room itself and checking the door, did you do anything else inside 1366?
No.
Okay. Did there come a point where you left the interior of 1366 and exited the townhome?
Yes, sir. At that point, while exiting the residence, I used the kitchen area because it did not have any blood. There was no blood located in the ground of the kitchen area. So I walked through the kitchen to get to the front door, exited the residence to make sure I didn't step in any blood, and met back up with my partner and waited for. At that time, then I called to make notifications, told them what we had, and waited for homicide evidence text.
So when you say you made notifications, what exactly are you doing to notify other people?
Just picking up my cell phone and giving the call to the number of notification and control.
All right. And so while you were there, did you have an occasion to talk to any non-police personnel who may have been potential witnesses?
Yes, sir.
And you don't have to tell me what they said, but did you take down their names?
Yes, sir.
And what were the names?
Kevin Moole, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sorry. And Jessica Robinson.
And did those people, were they in and around the immediate area? Is that how you came into contact with them?
Yes, sir.
Aside from those two, any other individuals approach you who claim to have seen the homicide or anything like that?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, eventually, as you're out there, do other police officers, like from the homicide unit or evidence techs, come there while you're still there?
Yes, sir.
And did you do what's called a canvass to look for any items while you were there?
Yes, sir, we did.
All right. Now, when I use this word canvass, what does that word mean to you?
To canvass an area is to basically search whatever the designated area is for the item of evidence. So that means, for this scene, we had K9 MSP at the location as well. So dogs searching the area, the immediate area, and us going through the bushes, seeing if we could find a knife or some type of weapon used in the crime.
Now, just talking about what you did, what did you do to look in the area for potential items of evidence?
I searched through many of the bushes in the area, even climbed inside the bushes, checked the grounds, checked to see if there's any blood, anything like that.
And did you find or recover any items of evidence when you were doing this canvass of the area?
No, sir.
Okay. In and around this area where you had discovered the body as well as 1366, did you do anything to try and prevent civilian people or non-police personnel from accessing that area?
Yes, sir.
Can you just describe what you did?
So prior to, we had a sergeant from number 7 make the location to give us crime scene tape. But prior to that, we stood in front of the location and ensured that nobody entered the residence and ensured nobody walked on, at least at that time, that section of the sidewalk that we were on. Later, after our sergeant made the location, he provided a crime scene evidence tape. We taped off the whole area.
And so while you were there trying to prevent people, non-police officers, from getting into that area, did you have any problems with non-police officers interfering in that area?
Oh, not a single one. No.
Okay. Now, have you had an opportunity to review any of the footage from your body camera that night?
Yes, sir. Just one.
All right. And when you were able to review that footage, was it a fair and accurate representation of what you personally experienced that night?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, at this point, I would move to admit People's Proposed Exhibit 9.
No objection.
People's Eye will be admitted.
No, at this point, Your Honor, we're going to publish it.
Are the jurors okay, or do you need a restroom break? Do you want to see the video first?
It's only a couple minutes.
We're almost going on 2 hours now, so.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you.
Which vinegar you use?
Oh, we're ready.
Eight.
We don't know how long. I was sort of like neighbors still walking the dog. They don't know like what happened. I'm sure they don't know. It's when it's been down, how long it's been down. But there's still some blood. You have to like find her apartment. She's like right next to her.
Uh-huh. Do you have an ID?
We didn't disturb the tank. So like, if you look on the ground, there's like spots of blood. Yeah, there's just like a trail of blood. You got some blood that goes up into here. Yep, it goes.
Medic for your status agree.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I ran the address. This is Wool.
Well, four. Yeah.
Now, officer, just in terms of how your body cameras operate, when they're activated for whatever reason, is there sometimes a delay from when the audio turns on?
Yes, sir.
All right, so that is typical when you've had an opportunity to observe your body camera footage?
Yes,
before?
sir.
Okay. I don't have any other questions here.
Do you anticipate a long cross, or?
Not
Okay,
great, no.
then we'll take a break after your cross.
Good afternoon, officer.
Good
Oh,
afternoon,
good morning.
sir.
I'm sorry. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Get ahead of myself. So it'd be fair that you arrived on the scene roughly around 6:50, correct? In
No,
the
sir.
AM.
Yep. 6:48, but yes, 6:50 approximately, if you want to say.
6:50. Okay. But we would agree that at 6:50 on this particular exhibit, you were still in your car driving to the location, correct?
No, we arrived at 6:48.
Okay. And you indicated that the medics were already there, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're unaware of when the medics actually arrived, correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay. And they pointed to you the 1366 address, correct?
It was noted in our dispatch as well. That's how I ran the address.
Okay, good.
But
when you arrived on the scene, they physically pointed out that particular address, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you didn't ask the medics whether or not they entered this property or opened the door, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay. So you don't know whether or not they opened the door and went inside to look around, correct?
I do not.
Okay. Now you indicated that when you saw the body, her arms were against her chest, correct?
Yes, sir.
In somewhat of a fetal position?
Somewhat, yeah.
Okay. Did you attempt yourself to engage to see if she had a pulse?
Definitely not. No.
Okay. Had you attempted to do so, you would have to possibly lean over her body, correct?
Yes, sir, if I attempted that.
Okay. And was her arms in the position where if you did try to check her pulse on her neck, your arm would have came in contact with her?
Possibly, depending on how experienced you are.
Okay. And are you trained in CPR?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you would say you're pretty experienced?
I'd say I'm experienced too.
Oh, okay. Was her back exposed? Any part of her back exposed from your observation?
As observed also in the video, a small part of her back.
Small part of her back? Okay. Now, you indicated that you tiptoed around this apartment, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it was dark on the inside other than some lights, you stated, correct?
Yeah, and I was using my flashlight at the time.
Okay. And this light didn't illuminate the whole apartment. That'd be fair, correct?
Which light are you referring to?
The light that you stated that was on, the lamp.
Oh, no. It didn't illuminate the whole apartment.
Okay. Did you put any type of protective gear on your foot or your boots prior to walking inside the house?
No, sir.
After leaving the apartment, did you ever check your boots to see whether or not you had accidentally stepped into blood?
No, but I actually I did check my boots once I made it over the original, the large amount that was in the hallway, and I was standing in the living room.
Okay.
I remember because I was, making sure I didn't contaminate the scene and get any blood on me or blood on my shoes. I made sure to look to see if there was any blood, and at that time there was no blood on my shoes.
Okay, at that time. But
Yeah.
The question was, when you left the apartment, upon you doing your protective sweep, at that point in time, did you check your boots for blood?
No, sir.
Okay. So at that point in time, you can't definitively say whether or not you stepped in some blood by accident, correct?
Well, I walked to the kitchen to prevent that, but
you can't definitively say that,
Yeah,
correct?
yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you indicated that you canvassed the area, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You didn't indicate that in your police report that you canvassed the area, did you?
I'd have to refer to my police report to see if I
Okay. If you refer
noted
to
that in there.
If you refer to your police report, would that refresh your memory?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Thank you. You ready?
Yeah, and to be fair, can I approach, Your Honor? And to be fair, I'll strike that question. That is indicated there. I'll strike that question.
You should be allowed to answer the question.
Yes, I did indicate that in the report.
Okay.
I referred to as scouts.
Okay, fair enough. And you spoke to some witnesses, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you indicated that one of the witnesses was Kevin Moore, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and Jessica Robinson, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and it was your understanding after speaking with them that they did not touch the body at all, correct?
Yes, sir.
That calls for hearsay.
I was his understanding, not what they said, whether or not he understood if they touched the body.
He could only know that by talking to them and hearing what they told him.
Well, I will allow it.
All right, thank you. I'll repeat the question. It was your understanding after speaking with them that they did not touch the body, correct? At all?
From their statements, yes.
That they did not touch the body, correct?
Yes, sir. That they did not.
And you indicated that in your police report, correct?
Oh, I'd have to refer to the police report if I indicated it on there.
But that's your understanding, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, just when did you run the lien on the when did you run the lien?
Prior to our arrival,
Okay.
after we were dispatched.
Okay. And it was your understanding that this happened at 1368 Joliet, correct?
No, because the dispatch location was 1368 Juliet Place, but within the CAD notes, it stated that the victim, or I forget how exactly how it stated, whether they're reporting party or victim or witness at the time. I mean,
okay.
But it stated that the persons that were already on scene believe that they seen the trail of blood exiting 1366 Juliet Place.
Did you run multiple addresses or just the 1366 Joliet?
Just the 1366. Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't run the 1368?
No.
Thank you, officer. No further questions.
Redirect.
I don't know.
Questions from the jury? Write down, council approach. Deputy, you can go through the well here, and a little bit easier than getting all the way through the. When checking 1366, did you check upstairs or downstairs or the whole unit before exiting the unit for the first time?
For the first time, no, I did not.
Did you go in a second time?
Yes, sir. No, yes, Your Honor.
And did you check the second time?
Yes.
Any further follow-up questions based on that?
When you went in the upstairs or the downstairs, did you see any people inside the apartment and other parts of the townhouse?
No, sir.
I don't have anything.
And just how much time had passed from the first time to the second time? Approximately.
I couldn't remember approximately because at that time it was only us two officers, and to preserve the scene, preserve the body, I had my partner stand out there after my first initial walkthrough, and then we both stood to make sure that nobody entered that whole walkway area. So it wasn't until the arrival of other officers, like as in sergeant, evidence text, everything else.
So you don't know?
No.
Okay.
The approximate time, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Any further questions? Thank you, sir. You have this down. Please come back around behind the bench. We're gonna, should we just break for lunch now? I think that might be a good idea. So it's 20 minutes to 12. We didn't really get a morning break because we got a late start this morning. So we're gonna break now for lunch, and we'll come back at 1 o'clock. Okay, because we have 2 matters we have to very much ready to take, okay? If you need to get anything out of the jury room, go ahead in there. Otherwise, if you want to just head out, you may head out too. Do we have the first row? You all brought some things in? It may be a few minutes before the rest of the jurors come out if they're warming up food or anything else.